Wonderful. So we have one like what we call the bagel.
My name is Noreen Bachteller. I'm the co-chair.
Your mic isn't on.
Oh, okay. Oh, that one? Okay. Technology.
Come up here.
Oh, I know.
Two chairs.
Okay. That sounds great. Okay. We'll try this again.
Just for
The live stream. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Noreen Bachteller. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Senior Citizen Advisory Commission, and I'd like to welcome all of you to our April 15th meeting and this exciting presentation that we're having on adult presentation on pedestrian and bicycle safety for older adults. As we all know, safety is on the minds of everyone here in West Hartford, whether you're, an older adult, a parent of young children, or even young children. And we're fortunate today to have a presentation with members of the community that have been actively working on the Vision Zero, and our presenters have been involved in that task force and on the commission since 2022 or so starting. With me today we have Ed Pollack. Ed is a resident of West Hartford since 1992. He also happens to live down the street from me, so I can get extra tips and also we can visit him with our concerns. Ed is a parent of Duffy, Sedgwick, and Connor children in the past. He started an environmental consulting business in town in 1992, and he is the chair of the Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission since 2022. He served on the Vision Zero Task Force and Advisory Committee, so welcome, Ed. And next to Ed, we have Parker Sorensen. Parker is a civil engineer with our town's engineering division since 2024, and prior to that, he was a consultant with the town on the Vision Zero plan, and Vision Zero focusing on, from the engineering perspective, roadway safety and other street and roadway projects. And he's very familiar with the town as a town resident, so we welcome Parker to our presentation. And lastly, at the end, we have two of West Hartford's finest police officers in the traffic division. We have Officer Stephanie Hannigan and Officer Jack Sanford, and both of them started with the West Hartford Police Department in January 2020, have backgrounds in criminal justice and other experiences that they're going to share with you on their police work in the traffic division. And the traffic division in town is responsible for the timely response and investigation of traffic crashes, and is the primary division responsible for traffic safety and the enforcement of motor vehicle laws within the town of West Hartford. We wanted to come to this presentation in a positive spirit, that we all can be part of this issue of safety from ourselves and with our family members and our community. And in working with Ed was developing this program. What we can do ourselves, what we'll hear today, yes, we know of the concerns, we see them daily. Anytime you drive, you can see somebody going through a red light and you get upset, or somebody doing something, a traffic issue. But what we're going to talk to you today is about what the town is doing to address those issues and what we ourselves can do to be safer. And we have a great community here in West Hartford on our all parts of the town, and there's a lot of activity. So with that, they all have wonderful presentations. What we're going to be doing is we're going to hear the presentations, and then we're going to have time for a question and answer at the end. So if you feel comfortable going to a mic and asking your question, or if you don't feel comfortable, you can put your question on those pieces of paper that were on your chair, and we'll bring them up to the podium. So thank you all for coming. This is wonderful for turnout. And let's begin with Ed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noreen, and thank you very much to the Commission for inviting me to speak here and participate in this really important workshop. The Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission meets monthly. We meet the second Monday of the month, typically, at 7 o'clock at room 400 in Town Hall. We publish an agenda every month, and so if there are any variations for the meeting date or the location, it'll always be on the agenda. And if you'd like to receive that monthly agenda from me, I send it out around town. Just see me at some point after the meeting, after this workshop, and I'd be happy to put you on my list. And
Please speak a little closer to the microphone. We're having a real hard time hearing you.
sorry, thanks for letting me know. Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know that. And so, without any, I've got two microphones right over here.
Yeah, right on the table, you don't have to hold it.
Okay,
So
great.
that's good right there.
Great. So, without any further ado, can we turn a front light off? Is that possible? Just the slides will be more visible. There we go. Great, thank you. So, I don't think it's hyperbole to characterize the road safety situation in our town as a road safety crisis. I don't think that's hyperbole. It's a crisis for the individuals who use the road in different ways, and it's a crisis for anybody near the roads. And what I'd like to tell you today is I'd like to give you some information on the magnitude of that crisis. I want to speak, because of this audience, I want to speak of how older adults are particularly vulnerable to this road crisis. I'm going to talk about reasons why we do have this crisis. I'm going to tell you, give you tips on how you can be safer when you are using our roads. And I'm going to conclude by telling you how you can also, as Noreen was saying, can contribute to a community effort to make our roads safer for everybody. So I'm targeting this towards the individuals and all of us together. Okay, so that's my objectives. This is really important. I can't overemphasize this. This is not an us versus them problem. It's not pedestrians against motorists. It's not motorists versus bicyclists. At different times of the day, different times of the week, the year, most of us are pedestrians, most of us are motorists, and many of us are bicyclists. In fact, some days I play all three roles, and I suspect, I know for sure from some in the audience that others of you do the same. Very often, in most days, most of us are pedestrians and motorists. So this is not us versus them. We're all in this together. So when we say the motorists are the problem, or the pedestrians are the problem, the cyclists, well, we all wear those hats. So please keep that in mind. And that's important, that does not pull our community apart, but we all work together, recognizing that we all use the road in different ways. Okay? So let's talk about the magnitude of the problem. The data that I'm going to show you, that I'm showing you here, is from the town's Vision Zero annual report for 2024, which Parker Sorensen put together for the town. And what we have here is crashes. And by the way, I'll always refer to these as crashes, and people in transportation, people use that term rather than accidents. When an accident happens, you say, well, you know, there was nothing we could have done to avoid it. It was an accident. Crashes occur generally because somebody wasn't following the rules, okay? So these are crashes, not accidents. And data on crashes resulting, in injury, you have the year in this column. KSI refers to crashes in which somebody was killed, it was a fatality, or seriously injured. Those are the most, obviously, the most severe crashes. So those are your KSI numbers. Most of the crashes involving, on the road, involve a minor injury, and these are all, by the way, reported by the police to the Yukon Transportation Repository. And then you total these up in this column. And what you see here is the numbers will vary from year to year, but if we look, let's say, at the most recent year, the numbers are going in the wrong direction. Even with the town implementing Vision Zero initiatives, we had a jump in total crashes, and the most important column, killed or seriously injured, these numbers almost doubled. All right, that's extremely concerning. That's why this is a crisis. And if you look at the total number, on average, every day there is a crash involving road users on our roads. On average, every day. That's reached crisis proportions, okay?
And are those figures just involving pedestrians and cyclists, or
Good.
All users?
Thanks for that clarifying question. These are all road users. Most of these crashes the injuries or fatalities are, in total, they are pedestrians. I'm sorry, they are motorists. But I'll show you the next chart. You'll see the breakout. Thanks for that question. Well, let me tell you what I think are the reasons for this crisis. Why are we having so many crashes? There's lots of reasons. Let's start up here. iPhones are great, smartphones are great, except when they're brought into cars. Or, by the way, when they're carried by pedestrians who are walking through crosswalks, looking down and texting on their iPhones. This is called distracted driving or distracted walking. And now not only do we have phones to distract us, but we have big displays on the newer cars, which is a computer in your car. It's a computer on wheels. So even if you're not carrying a phone, there's so much on that display that's going to distract you. And anytime you look away from the road, you're not paying attention. You're moving, but you're not paying attention to your surroundings, and now you and others are at danger. I don't know when it became quaint to to follow the rules of the road, but that seems to be the case. It's the exception rather than the rule when people actually drive the speed limit or when people stop at stop signs. My memory is good enough to remember we learned these rules. We all learned these rules in the driver's manual, but so many of us today, all users, again, motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists, don't obey the rules of the road. And when we don't obey the rules of the road, now there's chaos. All right, and that's when crashes happen. Motor vehicles today compared to, decades ago, they're larger, they're faster, they're more powerful, and many of them have these vertical grills that when they slam into a pedestrian doesn't slide over the top of it. Full force of that motor vehicle hits the pedestrian, so it's much more dangerous. Everybody seems to be in a hurry on our roads, and if you watch these signs that flash your speed and then the posted speed limit, you'll see again and again that people are speeding, and oftentimes motorists will drive by these signs. Their speed is flashed and they don't even slow down. So we all seem to be in a hurry. Speeding it's at crisis levels. If you're following the speed limit, people are stacking up behind you. You can't wait to get past you. And finally, our roads were designed for speed and are designed for speed. Our road system is an artifact of planning back in, I don't know how far it goes back, maybe the 50s or earlier, when the goals of traffic engineers and transportation planners was to get as many motor vehicles through a road system as quickly as possible. Safety was not a priority. And so we're living and dying with this legacy of a road system that doesn't prioritize safety. And, You know, in the worst case on Trout Brook Drive, I call it the Trout Brook Speedway. You know, it's a 4-lane road, it's a highway essentially, going past American School for the Deaf, going past, you know, it's a residential neighborhood that is cut by this speedway. And people drive like they're on 84. This is an artifact of a time past when we didn't prioritize safety. Parker's going to be talking about ways that we're trying to re-engineer our roads to make them safer so that drivers don't see these wide, straight roads which just encourage them to drive quickly. So, pedestrians are especially vulnerable, of course, when they're in a crash. They're not surrounded by steel that will protect a driver. Pedestrians and cyclists are particularly vulnerable. And if you look at the, again, so these are the years on the bottom, each bar is a year, from 2018 to 2024 in both cases. Here are crashes that involve a fatality, and the blue are the pedestrians. So you can see for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 7 years, we had, last 7 years, we have had 8 fatalities. That's more than 1 a year of pedestrians. And then if you look at crashes resulting in suspected or serious injury, every year pedestrians are showing up in these graphs. So there are far more cars than pedestrians on our roads, but pedestrians are overrepresented in these numbers because we're particularly vulnerable. Now, speaking to this audience, older pedestrians are especially vulnerable. And I got this from a National Highway Transportation Safety Administration manual or document. And I want to read it to you just as it is because it tells you exactly why older pedestrians are especially at risk. It says, older pedestrians are more likely to die from their injuries when struck due to the inherent fragility associated with the aging process. Factors that may increase vulnerability to being struck for some older pedestrians include age-related physical changes that lead to walking more slowly, difficulty crossing a curb, difficulty judging walking speeds and oncoming vehicle speeds, difficulty in interactions with turning vehicles at intersections, and possible confusion about pedestrian signal phases. So, as dangerous as it is for all pedestrians, older adults are particularly vulnerable. And even when pedestrians have the benefit of a signalized intersection, such as this intersection at Farmington Avenue and Mountain Road, one which is particularly difficult for pedestrians, even with signals that produce red lights and all the cars to stop, and pedestrian signals that tell the pedestrian when to walk, even when these protections are in place, it's a dangerous moment when a pedestrian steps onto the road. And I'm going to go back to this slide at the end of my presentation. I'm going to talk about all the risks that a pedestrian faces even when they go to a signalized intersection such as this one. So I'll return to this slide in a little bit.
What was that cross street? I'm sorry.
That was Mountain Road and Farmington Avenue, near Stop and Shop.
Ed,
Yes.
is there any evidence that there is less crashes where there are no turn-on red signals?
I'm going to talk about
Is
that.
that a problem?
That's a great question. I'm going to talk about that in relation to that intersection. Thank you very much. The answer, it does matter. I'm going to talk about that. So I'd like to give you some safety tips. And maybe sometimes I feel like we all should be walking out there with, in steel armor. It feels that dangerous sometimes. But short of that, and you probably can get this on Amazon, I don't know. But there are things that you can do short of that. I can't overemphasize this. This might be the most important piece of information I'm going to give you today, is that the vast majority of pedestrian fatalities occur at dusk or in darkness. This box right here says that 9 of the 11 pedestrian fatalities in West Hartford from 2015 to 2024 occurred at night or at dusk. And those fatalities were concentrated from November through January, when we have the least amount of daylight from daylight savings time. And this graph shows that these red dots are clustered here after sunset and in those months of the year. So you need to know this, that you're at most risk at dusk and at dark. And the reason for that is obvious. We are less visible to motorists when it's in dusk and dark. So we need to take precautions to make ourselves more visible. And I would tell you straight out that if you need to go out and walk at night, whether it's walking the dog, walking to a restaurant, wherever, you should not leave the house unless you have made yourself as visible as possible. And those strategies include, the simplest one is wearing a reflective vest, which would be reflective on front and back. Higher level of protections, and you're seeing is more and more in town now, is a lit up sash. And if you're walking your dog, a lit up leash, and for the dog as well. Make yourself as visible as possible. And that way motorists can see you. If you're walking a dog, or if you want to be aware of the sidewalk and road conditions you're walking on, and I'll have a slide of that in a minute of why that's so important. You need to see the surface you're walking on. You can get a headlamp, cheap, relatively, from Amazon, and there's options of a white light, and you can adjust this so it's pointing down, so you can walk hands-free, and still have your walking surface illuminated. And then, of course, when you're crossing the road, this makes you more visible. It also will flash for you, and you can also have the same, toggling the same with red lights. So you can't make yourself too visible when you're walking it in dark, okay? If you do need to cross the road in dark, choose a well-lit intersection. Cross where it's most likely that drivers can see you, all right? Well-lit areas. And this speaks to what I was just referring to with my headlamp. Pay attention to your walking surface. It didn't take me very long to accumulate these pictures, unfortunately, in town. Even though the town every year repairs sidewalks, there's so many that need repair that don't get it. And so you have cracks and bumps and holes and utilities that stick up or are depressed, making it very dangerous. You need to be aware of your walking surface, and illumination helps that at night. If a sidewalk is available, use it. And we have a really good sidewalk system in town, but there are places in town where there are no sidewalks. So if you have to be walking and there is not a sidewalk, walk as far to the left in the road, at the edge of the road, the far left side, facing traffic. Okay, that's the rules of the road. But if there is a sidewalk, of course, use it. And of course, walk undistracted. Here I am, about to step off the curb. Oops, about to step off the curb. But I don't know that because I'm looking at my cell phone. Don't be distracted by your devices when you're walking. Pay attention to your surroundings. And you really need to pay attention everywhere. There are driveways, whether they're commercial driveways, like this one on South Main Street near Code Rugs, where vehicles are leaving this parking lot, and you don't know it until you get right to the edge of that driveway. So you need to approach a driveway like this very carefully, and they're in the center as well. multiple driveways, but it's even driveways, you know, just residential driveways out, you know, that you're passing by. You need to look for cars leaving a driveway or pulling into a driveway. Be aware of your surroundings.
I think that's the most dangerous spot in town, to be honest with you. Every time I pull out of there, I have a heart attack. Like, I go so slow, I stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. It's terrible.
It's really dangerous, especially because, you know, those cars are crossing the sidewalk. So that's a place of conflict. And you have no sight line to know that neither the motorists nor the pedestrians have the sight line. Jim, I'll give you a second, but I can tell you that this is going to change as part of the reconstruction of West Hartford Center. Maybe Parker will speak to that. But this, I know this this will not exist once the center is reconstructed. Jim?
I've almost been hit there numerous times because I walk by it every day, but one night, a girl on her cell phone was coming out without looking, and I had to run across with the dog, but that's a dangerous spot.
It really, it's one of the most dangerous driveways that I'm aware of in town, so pay attention to all driveways. And so sometimes I feel like we should have eyes. I wish I had eyes in the back of my head. And as an older adult, my neck doesn't rotate as much as well as it used to. And so it's actually a challenge for me. I actually have to turn my body. But I do, when I'm crossing the road, I am literally checking all directions where a car may be traveling. And I wish I had eyes in the back of my head, but you have to turn your head or your body as if you did. So, whenever crosswalks are available, use them. Whenever they're available, state law requires drivers to yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk, but of course we know that doesn't always happen. But use them when they are available. But never, ever, ever assume that just because you're at the edge of a crosswalk, or maybe that you've stepped into a crosswalk, that the drivers are going to stop. They don't. When I took this picture, well, my wife took this picture of me raising my reflective arm up and down, indicating, and this car was, you know, back maybe further behind this one when I started, you know, my signal. I don't know if they even saw me. They drove through as if they didn't. So you can't assume that they're going to stop. They may not, they probably won't. So never ever step into the crosswalk until you have made certain that all of the cars in all directions have stopped for you and are yielding for you. And even when you then cross this crosswalk, again, you're looking in all directions. Is somebody making a right, maybe back here at this other leg, or is this car inside, they want to move? Pay attention. Whenever you're in the road, you're looking in all directions as you're moving across, looking for a car that may hit you. So, well, there are two types of crosswalks in town. They are unsignalized, where there is no traffic signal, no red light, you know, no traffic signal, and no pedestrian walk signal to light up and show you when it's time to cross. So I'm going to talk about those crosswalks first, and this is an example. This is on Fern Street at Willowbrook. If you continue down Fern Street, you get to Fern Ridge Park down on the right side. Mountain Road is behind me. So this is an unsignalized crosswalk. There are warning signs, you know, or signs up that indicate to the motorists, you know, this is a crosswalk. So how do you get across this if there are cars approaching? Well, if there is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, RFB, available, press the button, and that will then start flashing for you. It makes it more likely the motorist is going to see that you're at the edge of the crosswalk. Use it if it's there. More and more of these are being installed in town, and I know Parker will speak to that. Before you step into the road, you'll see I'm at the edge of the sidewalk, right by the curb. You stand there and you wave your arm up and down, looking in both directions. That's the sign that's telling motorists that you want to use the crosswalk. Do not step into it until you're certain that they all have stopped. And here's a tip for you, and I think this is really helpful for building community. When a motorist has yielded to me, and I'm now crossing the crosswalk, I'll give them a thumbs up. I'll wave to them. Sometimes I'll flash the peace sign. And that's building community, and I think it's making it more likely that that motorist is going to want to stop for a pedestrian next time. It creates a community through a windshield, and I think that's what's been missing in town. So let's talk about signalized intersections and how you cross them. And by signalized intersection, the components are, well, a traffic signal, a pedestrian signal, which all in town have a countdown. And when it's not safe to pass, you know, there'll be the red hand pointing up at you. There's a button, you know, pedestrian button that you press to tell the signal that you're waiting to walk, and then there's a crosswalk, okay? So these are the components of a signalized intersection. So of course, when you get to a signalized intersection, press the pedestrian button and wait for the pedestrian phase to begin. As I was shooting pictures for this slideshow, I can't tell you, it's very depressing. This is the rule rather than the exception. Pedestrians, we are in a hurry too, and most people don't wait at a signalized crosswalk to cross. Here, this is right on South Main Street in Farmington, just, you know, walking right across without pressing the button. You may or may not be able to see that it's, you know, it's red, it's not the pedestrian phase. You see this again and again. Folks, wait a minute or two, press the button and wait for it to give you the pedestrian walk light. You'll be safer. Okay, back at Farmington Avenue and Mountain Road. I want to take you on a trip across Farmington Avenue in this, which is the longest leg of the intersection, by the way. It's almost like they tried to make this as long as possible. If they had cut it straight across here, that would have been much shorter. And for older adults, for whom walking fast is a problem, that's a problem. And so this is the type of, I was telling you about the road architecture that we're stuck with, but that needs to change. In any event, so let's say you're here, there's a pedestrian button, you press the button, and now you wait. And finally, you do get the walk signal appearing. Okay, so raise your hand if you say, okay, I got the walk signal, I'm walking into the crosswalk. Thank you. Well, if you raise your hand, then that's a problem. And I hope you know by now, you shouldn't do that. Even though all traffic signals here have turned red, everybody is supposed to have stopped. Don't trust that they have stopped. We know that motorists run red lights so frequently. So the first thing you have to assess before you step into that crosswalk is, have all the cars stopped in all directions? Are they all yielding to you at this crosswalk? Once you see that they have, now you can step into the crosswalk. But you're still not safe because this gentleman asked somebody asked a question about right on red. Well, this driver has ability to make a right on red at this traffic signal. So even though you've entered the crosswalk, a motorist driver may turn right on red. They're supposed to yield, and on some of these legs there is a sign that says yield to pedestrians and crosswalks, but they don't always follow that. So, and they may not even stop. That's correct. It's implied right on red after stop. People seem to have forgotten that. So as you enter this crosswalk, your radar is on high alert. You are looking behind you to make sure that nobody's making the right on red. making sure that nobody is, you're running the red light, maybe, long after it's gone red. And even when you get near the curb here, the sidewalk on the other side, this is right on red allowed here too. So you could also have a motorist making a right on red, not even seeing you, and turning into you right as you're near the end of the crosswalk. To make matters worse, there are some intersections that are called concurrent pedestrian phase, where all of the lights don't turn red, where when you're crossing, let's say in this direction, cars can also drive in this direction. Well, that's great, because now when you're crossing this crosswalk, you can have motorists turning right to go down Farmington, or you can have motorists turning left to go down Farmington. So you have to look in all directions, pay maximum attention when you're crossing the road, even at a signalized intersection. And so, what can we do to change this dangerous culture? I've given you all the tips for being a pedestrian. What can you do to be a good road user? Well, as part of the Vision Zero initiative, the education component, the town has begun what they call the Safe Driver Pledge. And the cards that papers you have on your seats have a QR code. I'll show that in a minute too, where on your phone you can download the Vision Zero site. It'll take you to the pledge, the Vision Zero Safe Driver Pledge. You can also do it as on a paper form, and I don't know if those are available. Parker has them too. You could take that pledge right here today at the end of the meeting. And the Safe Driver Pledge has 6 simple steps, probably taken from that driver's ed manual that I showed before that most people have forgotten. And so what are you pledging to do when you sign this pledge? The first thing is you pledge to stay focused and to avoid distracted driving. You pledge to drive the speed limit. You pledge to yield to pedestrians at crosswalks. You pledge that you will stop at stop signs, not roll through them, and you'll stop at red lights. When you see the yellow, you'll stop, not speed up. You'll pledge that you'll maintain a safe distance between your car and the one in front of you, so if they have to stop suddenly, you don't run into them. And finally, when you're passing cyclists, you pledge that you will give them at least 3 feet of space to make it safer for them and less likely for there to be a collision when you're passing them. Those 6 steps, if everybody were to adopt them, our roads would be extremely safe. But even if just a critical mass of drivers adopt these, the roads will become incredibly safer. There was a question.
Seems to me that nobody puts their blinker on before their brake lights anymore. So you're traveling on Mountain Road, and somebody who's maybe not familiar keeps hitting the brake, keeps hitting the brake, because they're looking for a street or something.
Right.
If you're going to turn, your blinker is supposed to go on before your brake lights.
That's a good point. I don't know if everybody heard, but when you do plan on turning, you should use your blinkers, of course. If I could just speak not so much to that point, which is important, but we could have made this pledge dozens and dozens of pledge items. We chose the most important ones to include. We couldn't include everything, and so these are the ones that we felt that are most important, that will really change the culture. If you do sign the pledge, you're entitled to receive a free magnetic bumper sticker that you can put on your car. You let others in town know why you're driving the speed limit, why you're stopping at stop signs and yielding pedestrians. But it also reminds you every time you get in the car, oh yeah, I signed the pledge. And if you drive and you don't follow the pledge, well, you're sort of seen as a hypocrite to your fellow residents, so that's not a good thing. Here's the.
Where do you pick that up?
Sorry, you get it from Town Hall?
Yeah, we should have a few.
No, so we will pass out the pledges at the end of the presentation. We have the magnets.
Magnets as well.
Magnets,
Fantastic. You get them at Town Hall. If you can't get to Town Hall conveniently, call up the town clerk or the mayor's office. They'll mail it out. But
I think we're saying we have the magnets today.
Right, we do have the magnets today.
Something's not happy. Here, I'm not sure.
Talk really loud, sorry.
No, that's good. So we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Just unplug this, I should take some of the bridge off.
All right. Thank you, Ed. So just clarification, so we do have the magnets today. So we have paper copies of the pledge. We also have QR codes. So if you, whatever format you feel most comfortable in taking the pledge, if you want to do that, we do have the magnets today. I think we also have the reflective wristbands. So again, in the vein of visibility at night, we do have some giveaways for everybody in attendance. So stay tuned after the presentation. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ed. So Parker Sorensen from the Engineering Division. So really want to really expand upon Ed's comments and just really highlight really what the town from the engineering perspective is doing. I think this works.
Is that?
It's okay. Oh, is it focus? Okay, so before I advance, I just want to back up. I'm sure many are aware of the town's Vision Zero efforts. Maybe some are not. I don't really want to get too much into that. I mean, we heard that there was certainly there's a plan. It's publicly available online. That was adopted last January of 2024, so it's pretty comprehensive. But just as a term of definition, if you're unfamiliar with the term Vision Zero, I always boil it down to really two main components. First and foremost, the principle that serious injuries and fatalities on our roadways is simply unacceptable and avoidable. And second is the ideology of Vision Zero is really just a multidisciplinary set of strategies with the goal of eliminating those deaths and serious injuries. So today, we're really going to talk about road design and what we're doing in the engineering division, but we all know that roadway safety really extends beyond that. As Ed has been talking about, is a lot of cultural changes that need to happen as well. So, certainly happy to expand upon more. There's a lot of even content in the plan that's kind of outside my wheelhouse in engineering, but certainly just wanted to kind of establish that from the start. So really today, I'm just going to go through three main topics. One, just some context, which we had some good slides that matched each other, so we're going to get some reinforcement on those slides. And really just want to highlight what we've done in the last year as a town and what we are planning on doing in the very near future. So just to give you a sense of some of the changes that are going to be occurring on our streets. So Ed presented this table. Really, this is straight from our Vision Zero Action Plan annual update, by the way, also available online. I simplified it just for the purpose of this presentation. But Ed really clarified this table very easily, which is we're going in the wrong direction in the last few years. We've seen a pretty sizable uptick of serious injury or fatal crashes, as well as a moderate increase of overall numbers when you're looking at injury crashes. Similar, same graph we saw from Ed's presentation, just highlighting again a lot of the fatalities on our streets. All but two crashes were involving pedestrians, and those two crashes were motor vehicle collisions in 2022. So just really emphasizing the importance for roadway safety, especially when we're out there as a pedestrian or cyclist, or essentially not enclosed in a motor vehicle. Another one of our shared slides, but just to give a little context on this, Ed had the summary really nicely. This graph, it's a little confusing. I'm an engineer, so like the confusing charts and graphs. But the colors that you're seeing essentially is the federal data for pedestrian fatalities between the years of 1987 and 2003. So along the bottom here is time, through the course of a day, so 24 hours. And along this axis is the month, And then what you're seeing with the different colors is how many pedestrian fatalities occurred at that time in that month. So clearly what you're seeing is the red, that's where there's the most pedestrian fatalities federally, nationally. And again, what you're seeing is this kind of bell curve corresponding to sunset time, and then especially after daylight savings time. So that's, that's when daylight, evening hours start really at 4:30. People are still going home from work, people are walking. It's a really active time, and you're really seeing that reflected in the federal data. The dots that you see are the 11 pedestrian fatalities that we've had between 2015 and 2024. And obviously we don't have, we can't really pull the same sort of graph with the 11 numbers that we have, but generally speaking, they align with the federal trend, which is pedestrian fatalities occurring at night, and again, definitely occurring post daylight savings. So really just want to emphasize that enough. So going to the projects, we have a lot of information online, and this is just a screenshot of our Vision Zero website, which I'll show you how to get to at the end of this presentation, just showing all the projects that we have either in the works or have completed since January of 2024. So as you see, a lot of dots on this map. So, I mean, they could be relatively small changes. They could be more substantial changes. So anything that we do, we've been trying to track here. 2024, we've completed 115 or so Vision Zero projects in 2024. And really just want to highlight, special thanks. I always do this for our public works crews. They've been doing a tremendous job in supporting the roadway safety projects that we've had underway. Last year, we saw 3 new raised crosswalks, so a small image, but if you're familiar with Fern Street at Morley Elementary School, there's a raised crosswalk. Essentially, it's a speed table to slow vehicles down right at that busy school crossing. There's 2 more, one on Boulevard and one on Tunxus Road. We certainly expect more to come online here in the near future. 14 new regular kind of stamped crosswalks. This one is an example right outside of Whole Foods on Raymond Road, going over to kind of the Blueback Square neighborhood. 11 new rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So Ed showed those a little bit more in detail, but we have 11 that went in last year, and I'll show kind of the numbers, what we've done. Standard like curb pavement marking, so just a yellow line. Actually, this is a location on Mountain Terrace Road. There was a prior collision, so certainly the homeowners were happy to have more visibility of the curb. And a road diet. This is actually a DOT project on New Britain Ave, spanning in, it's just really on the edge of town into Hartford, but you'll see the lanes, DOT reconfigured the lanes to add a center turning lane, and really the goal there is to cut down on some of the passing movements and the lane jockeying in that area. There's a lot of driveways and side streets, especially in that area. General signal improvements, so something that might not be necessarily visible, readily visible by when you're kind of looking at it, but you might be able to feel it as a driver. So this is an example from Prospect Ave at Kane Street. So this was actually a location of a road safety audit. We went out with police and Ed and other members, stakeholders. And this is actually a comment from police that, the McDonald's and Kane Street lights, they would not be working together. So one would be green, the other would be red, vice versa. And it would cause some confusion for motorists. So we were able to get those timed up and synced up pretty quickly after that comment from police. General sightline improvements, this is an example from Buena Vista Road. Edgeline, Troutbrook Drive, from Asylum down to Boulevard. You may have noticed there is now an edge line. There never used to be an edge line right next to that curb. So we're doing 6-inch reflective, which is wider than our standard 4-inch. And again, dark time, if it's raining, what have you, make sure that the drivers can see the edge of roadway. I'll talk a little bit more about lighting improvements. And reflective bands distributed, again, talking about this is multidisciplinary. Not only can this be engineering, but also communication. So to whatever extent we can talk to members of the public, this is a photo from last year at Celebrate West Hartford. So what can you expect here in 2025? We talked a little bit about those rectangular rapid flashing beacons. Again, engineer, we like acronyms. RRFB, I simply just refer to them in our Vision Zero as crosswalk warning lights. I think that people generally know what those mean. One thing I really want to highlight, this photo here, this is at Fern Street, and every single one of our RRFBs that's going in has this feature. They have a little spotlight on both poles, really illuminating that crosswalk. So it looks different. It's a different color temperature from the overhead street light. So you'll see it looks bright, bright white light. And in this case, there's not even anyone in this crosswalk, and all you can see in this photo is really the crosswalk. So again, these things only work if you press the button. Again, wait, make sure that motorists are actually are going to yield to you, but really trying to improve the visibility of pedestrians crossing here. Just a highlight, the IIHS, which is the Insurance Highway Safety Institute, did a study. They found when you do these RRFBs at night, a driver's 13 times more likely to yield to you than no signage at all. So really hopefully trying to make a difference at nighttime hours. And we have 15 locations planned for 2025. Actually, maybe a half dozen or so have already gone in. So you might be seeing those up around town. Talked a little bit about lighting improvements. So this is a picture from Oakwood Avenue, I believe at Seymour. There's a crosswalk here. And before and after. So late last year, Public Works had some higher wattage bulbs that they were able to put up overhead. It's made a noticeable improvement, and we actually plan on doing the entire stretch of Oakwood Avenue here in the months ahead. So certainly taking a look, not even at daylight hours, but making sure that we go visit these places at night, and certainly when those pedestrian crashes are occurring. We talked about signal improvements. There's a variety of different improvements, whether it be really crossing buttons, so accessible push buttons. Those are your buttons. They are newer. They have the audible tones. We talked a little bit about right turn on red and the challenge that poses to pedestrians. We have plans to install light up no turn on red signage that will light up with the crosswalk phase. So as an initial phase of that, we have 3 intersections identified, which we can talk more about. And then just general signal maintenance, making sure that the signals work, try to reduce red light running, that sort of thing. You know, we know this a long line.
May I ask a question?
Let's take them after, just because I don't want to.
It's about the Trump Trail, and that you have a sign with a picture of a bicycle and says "Use with head."
Sure. What's to come after? Because I want to make sure PD is able to get in before lunch as well. Automated traffic enforcement. So I know last week some may have seen the news that Town Council adopted an ordinance that will allow this to happen. There's quite a few steps that need to occur before then. So this would be speed cameras and red light cameras. The intent, we have a federal grant to support both of these programs. The speed camera grant has actually been authorized prior to the red light running camera, so we're moving with speed cameras first. And just to say that really there's going to be some public involvement this summer, and the goal is to get a plan that we can submit to the state and federal government for approval in the fall. So I don't have any locations to share, but to say stay tuned. There's going to be more engagement and news to both of those fronts. And then finally, quick builds. So this actually will be coming out as a supplement to our annual report. And the goal with quick builds is really You know, generally speaking, road infrastructure projects are costly, they take a lot of time, and the goal with quick builds is to use some modular elements, posts, things that we can kind of bolt into the road, paint to change driver behavior quickly and less expensive. So we expect maybe 24 or so locations to trial quick build locations, from, you know, curb extensions, which are really trying to reduce turning speeds of vehicles and reduce your exposed time that you're out crossing a roadway, pedestrian refuge islands, median islands, and a neighborhood traffic circle. So those are something that are going to be in the works here in 2025 as well. And I want to just highlight, this has really been a busy time in terms of construction for the town coming up. I'm sure we're all aware of what's happening in West Hartford Center. There is quite a bit of, their contractors are underway. Improvements in terms of safety improvements are incorporated as in that project. But there's also several others. Park Road is getting a reconstruction here in the probably next 2 years, looking at incorporating shorter crossing distances there, new crosswalks, new signage whenever feasible. New Park Avenue in the southeast corner of town, looking at complete streets improvements, so whether it be a connection to the Trout Brook Trail for both pedestrians and bicyclists. Sedgwick Road, I know me and Ed had a lot of time this fall talking about Sedgwick Road. We know Sedgwick Middle School and the elementary school there, tremendous amount of kids crossing Sedgwick Road at those two crosswalks. Making sure that we can make those crossings safer for all users. And then lastly, King Philip Drive, again, up here by King Philip Middle School, making sure that we can incorporate safety projects into those reconstructions. Touched on this, we have paper copies of the pledge if you want to sign that, if you want to do the QR code, but also to highlight where you can find this on the website. If you go to government, on the West Hartford Town website, government, there's a Vision Zero tab, like kind of link there. If you go on the link, if you go to that Vision Zero page, you can't miss it. It pops up. It won't let you do anything until you dismiss it. There's a Vision Zero pledge. If it happens not to pop up in this dark blue button on the page as well that says sign the Safe Driver Pledge. And just highlight that you can fill out that information there, and town hall staff, you know, certainly coordinates with you to get a magnet if you so choose. So I appreciate it. I think just in the interest of time, I think we do questions at the end. I certainly want to give the police time to talk.
I'm Officer Hannigan, this is Officer Sanford. Like it was mentioned in the introductions, we actually were hired together, went to the academy together, and chosen for the traffic division at the same time. So it's been a fun run. Let's see. So within our division, there's our captain, a sergeant, and there's 6 officers. We just had 2 openings for 2 new officers to make our division a little bit bigger because of the, you know, demand with all these accidents and enforcement. Oh, there we go. I got it. So even though there are 6 of us that work together, we don't all work at the same time, unfortunately. Some days there will just be 1 officer working, but there's a total of 6 of us in the division. This is our crew here. Every single one of us are also accident reconstructionists. So what that means is we went to 6 weeks of intensive school to specifically investigate serious motor vehicle collisions and fatal motor vehicle collisions, because it's a completely different type of investigation than just your regular, minor motor vehicle crash. A lot of us have different specialties. So Officer Swank, he's in the bottom right-hand corner. He's one of our traffic officers. He's also a drug recognition expert. He went to intensive school. He had to go somewhere down south to become certified in not just like your regular DUI where you would be under the influence of alcohol, but he can actually detect, based on different tests, if any narcotics were used, exactly what type was used. So that's one of his expertise. We have Officer Allen. He's in our motor unit as well. We're going to be starting some motor enforcement, so utilizing the motorcycle to pull over vehicles. Officer Sanford, I'll let him speak.
So I'm in our drone unit as well, which is another very up-and-coming technology specific to policing. So I've been in the drone unit for about 3 years, and it's another unit that is expanding pretty drastically. I think at this point, bless you, we have eight drone pilots. So specific to crash investigation, this is a crash from a couple years ago on North Main and Miller, obviously involving a school bus, but using the drone to get not only an aerial view of the crash scene, which helps line up how the vehicles impacted each other, and then once again when the vehicles are towed away or moved, we can take other pictures with other kind of roadway evidence. And then another big one is line of sight, so flying the drone off to the side and getting a good aerial view of the whole road, the whole area involved in the crash to determine if line of sight was a factor in the crash, but also at night, a lot of our nighttime crashes, you can actually see the pools of light. So where there's a specific street light, it'll be obviously bright, and then in between those street lights, you can see the very, very dark areas, which unfortunately, with nighttime crashes, that's generally where they occur, in those dark areas. Progressing with drone, we have, I think it might be one of the next slides, it's called a Pharaoh, and Officer Hannigan will kind of go more in depth with that. But we can use the drone going forward as another tool to accompany this device.
So 2 of us were sent down to Florida to become certified in this device. This little machine in the bottom left corner, it basically scans our crash scenes for serious motor vehicle collisions where there is a fatality, and it almost turns it into like a video game, I guess, is the best way to look at it. So when we go back to our computers, that exact scene that we're standing on is up on our computer screen, and we can walk through the entire scene. It's extremely detailed. We can take exact measurements from it, so it's all laser pointed. And it's a huge tool in our investigations as far as like capturing the exact scene and all angles of it inside the vehicle.
Just a couple more things. So a few of us are field training officers, so not only do we go out and do our job, but we take rookie officers with us, so officers who just transferred from other agencies or just graduated the police academy. So that's I think 3 of us. Oh, 4 of us.
4 of us.
And we always have new recruits coming through, so it's definitely a rewarding experience for us to teach people, but it's also time consuming on our end. And if we are teaching someone, they might not be able to operate as fast and efficiently as we do and be able to clear calls as quickly as we can. So that's something that can factor into I guess how many calls we can clear at one period of time.
So our daily functions, just as the traffic division alone, We investigate and document every single motor vehicle crash that happens in West Hartford. So whether that be in a parking lot, somebody pulling out of their driveway, on the roadway, no matter the severity, we investigate and we document that. We are in charge of doing the primary volume of motor vehicle stops and motor vehicle enforcement. We have a list that comes out every week that our sergeant makes. When people call into our division and say, you know, we've had speeding on this roadway, you can park in my driveway and use your laser to calculate people's speed and pull people over. We compile a list of those. It changes every week, and those are the areas that we focus on in town, because the entire town has, you know, violation areas. We also look at if there has been an uptick in motor vehicle collisions in that area or incidents in that area, and then we'll put that to the top of our list to make sure that we enforce in those areas. We are also on call, our entire division, since we're on the reconstruction team. We're on call 24/7, 365. We get called in from home if there's a serious motor vehicle collision that requires us to come in and fully investigate. The 6 of us will come in, even if it's the middle of the night, even if we're out with our families, we come in and we investigate that, that accident. Those accidents take about 6 months to complete. If you see in the upper left-hand corner, that's the size of the case file. We're both working fatal accidents right now, so we try to go out and do enforcement and take other accidents, but our primary responsibility is to investigate and document those fatal accidents. What's involved in that is we go to the scene, we document all of the evidence, we seize all of the evidence, we take photographs. We have all been to crime scene photography school. We do full inspections of the motor vehicle. Our DPW has a certified mechanic, Nick LeBeau, who he does a full inspection. So we seize the vehicle on scene and we send it down to DPW, and he checks out the entire vehicle to see if it was a mechanical failure, if it was because the tires on the car are bald or has 4 different tires, or they weren't, you know, they didn't have enough PSI in them. So we also, this is like a little documentation of, we have to draw a little diagram of the crash. What else?
I guess, so the binder's up in the top left, so there's tons of paperwork that goes through that we have to do. It's kind of not exactly the glamorous side of our job, but one of the big things, so seizing vehicles, we can't just seize a vehicle and just say, hey, we're taking your car. We have to go to the court, get a search warrant, have them approve it. It goes to a prosecutor and it goes to the judge, and then we can do all of that. Then we can do the inspection. So again, it's not exactly a quick process. It's not streamlined, and that's why it can take several months to sometimes a year to clear these out.
We intend the autopsies
Yeah.
of the deceased. We work very closely with the medical examiner's office. So those investigations are very time consuming, so that we can, you know, give the families, you know, some closure, and prosecute if necessary. So something that we started when I was hired, I noticed that when we would pull over young teen drivers, they would say, oh, I didn't learn that in driver's education. Oh, I never knew that.
Whether it's true or not.
Yeah. So I said, okay. I said, I've heard this so many times. I created a program that we do every year with Conrad and Hall, and it's called the New Teen Driver Program. And we talk about all of the do's and don'ts of driving when you have your permit and when you get your license. We show them pictures of serious motor vehicle crashes where people died, where teenagers died, and we tell them stories about, you know, the families that we've met through these crashes, My big why is for doing this is Christmas morning, 2022, there was a teenage driver who veered into opposing traffic and killed himself, his mother, and the other driver. I tell the kids that I never want to have a Christmas like that again. I never want to have to investigate something like that ever again. So I try to drill it into their heads, the seriousness of, you know, distracted driving and like what can happen. So we do that every year with them. We also do a DUI class for the schools, and we basically, like Officer Sanford was saying, we teach some of our new recruits. This year we brought in all of our new recruits and we taught them how to do the field sobriety tests that are done on the side of the road. So they got to learn how to do it, and the kids got to see what would happen if they were drinking and driving and got pulled over. We put them through this course, so they wear these goggles that simulate different levels of intoxication, and we may have them drive through the course. So we really try to do a lot of education and community outreach, especially with these new drivers, because with cell phones, they just don't understand the severity of, you know, what could actually happen in a crash. Just trying to build relationships with younger individuals in town. That's something we also do. So these are the statistics for the total motor vehicle stops from 2019 through 2024. This year we're at?
We're about a little over 3,000 motor vehicle stops year to date, so it's definitely on trends to be more than the last few years, the total.
The month of April is Distracted Driving Month, so we received a grant from the state of Connecticut during daytime hours, Monday through Friday. There's 4 spots open every single day that it's available for specific distracted driving. So there's a location given every day, a specific area where there's been, you know, an uptick in motor vehicle collisions for distracted driving. And those officers aren't allowed to respond to any other calls. They have to sit there and pull over every car that's obviously distracted for various reasons, like on their cell phone or putting on makeup or FaceTiming, taking selfies.
And I'm sure everybody can tell when COVID was based on the level of activity.
Yeah, we were instructed to not pull cars over during COVID.
But we're trending back to what it was prior.
So resident versus non-resident motor vehicle stops, these are some of the breakdown of the statistics for 2024. So total motor vehicle collisions from 2020 to 2024. And we'll break it down a little further.
And just go back. So I'm sure you saw the dip for the motor vehicle stats. So there still was people crashing even though there were less people out on the road. So that's generally stayed pretty consistent, and it's trending around the same for this year, maybe a little bit more. I believe year to date for this year, we're around 650 total collisions. So vehicle, pedestrian, bicycle, and that includes evading, injury, no injury.
And as far as like the injury, how it goes, we have like specific categories that we have to report on. So it's either no injury, suspected minor injury, suspected serious injury, or fatal. So there isn't like anywhere in between. If somebody says, I think I may be injured, we take that as you're injured. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how you're feeling. I don't know. So we always make sure that it is reported as if you were injured, because you're in shock and you don't really know yet if you are injured. So we just automatically report it as a motor vehicle collision with injury, which is why sometimes those are a little bit higher than non-injury. So motor vehicle versus pedestrian. The Orange color is number of motor vehicle collisions involving pedestrians, and the other one is pedestrian fatalities. Bicycle and skateboard collisions, again, orange is number of motor vehicle collisions involving bicycles, and then cyclists and skateboard fatalities.
Are these involving vehicles?
Yes, so vehicle
Vehicles
versus,
that hit bikes and/or skateboards?
Yes,
Correct,
correct.
yes.
So you'll see the previous slide, there was it 2,500 total to around there, the total collisions reported? Yeah, so around 2,400 each year minus 2020. And then the next two slides, collisions involving pedestrians versus collisions involving skateboard and cyclists, whether it, so the big thing is it has to be reported. So I'm sure there's a number of collisions that happen that were never reported to us. So there's always that caveat, but you can see it makes up a minority of our collisions. So a majority of the collisions we respond to are vehicle versus vehicle.
so these are the fatal motor vehicle collisions.
Which, you can go through that.
Hmm?
Stephanie, could you clarify, you said all of West Hartford is your coverage.
Right.
You don't cover crashes on 84.
No, the
And what
state.
about the other state roads in town?
So within town, if it's a state road, we investigate it. If it's on the highway, the state comes out and investigates it. Sometimes we will, if the state will call us, if they have a fatal accident, we'll go and help them if they need crowd control, or if their reconstruction team is, you know, like a long time out, we'll go and help them preserve the evidence, make sure that nobody.
And that Park Road connector, is that something you're responsible for or the state is responsible for?
The off-ramp you were talking about?
Yeah, the on and off ramp.
So all the on and off ramps are state, so it'll be Troop H. So
So our numbers are probably higher.
for total in town, correct, yeah. So if you included crashes on the highway and on and off
Yeah.
ramps, I'm sure the number would drastically be higher. We're just reporting on what we deal with.
Right. We do have, technically, we do have jurisdiction there, but we do not investigate anything on the highway. As far as the off-ramps go, after the stop bar, like into the roadway, that's where we investigate. But anything from the stop bar towards the exit ramp is theirs.
And you can generally see like the split in the road surface. That's generally the jurisdiction line between Troop H and us. And then the fast track, the state police does the fast track.
Right. So these are the statistics for our deployments for accident reconstruction team. This year, we haven't had any, have we had any? No, we haven't had any. So, it's been a good year. And again, this isn't just fatals. We get called for any serious physical injury. So anything that is like a life-altering injury, where your life will be changed, we will come out and investigate that. So the common contributing factors are decision-making, motor vehicle violations, pedestrian violations, poor lighting. That's something that we've been,
Sedgwick
Yeah.
on South Main Street.
Yeah.
You can't see anybody in that dip if it's
Yeah.
dusk or dark.
yeah, the poor lighting is something that we've noticed.
And that's something
it's a
we're
big
working
thing. Yeah.
with the town engineering, like they were saying earlier. We'll walk the roads with them during various times, and they'll pick our brains about any kind of feedback. Because obviously we're out on the road all the time. That's our job, to be out on the road. So we're driving the streets. We're seeing how pedestrian and vehicle traffic navigates the streets and intersections. So we definitely appreciate being able to offer any kind of feedback, 2 cents that we can give.
After any fatal or serious motor vehicle collision, you guys will come out with us and we'll do a walkthrough of the scene. We can't release much information because it's confidential, we're still investigating it, but they do come out and walk the scene with us and just talk about what possible factors could have been contributing in the collision. So speed, distracted walking, and distracted driving are also common contributing factors. Something that's big with pedestrians is not wearing reflective clothing, not crossing in a crosswalk, not crossing in a well-lit area, but definitely the reflective clothing is a huge thing. So some prevention solutions. Town and state departments sharing data and working together, which is what we do. Traffic safety task forces like the Vision Zero initiative, education and awareness. We have different academies, so like the Citizens Academy, the College Academy. We try to present every year to the high schools. Continued and persistent motor vehicle enforcement. Like I said before, we have 2 open positions that officers have applied for in our division so that we can do more enforcement details. And then the overall mindset of the motoring public, impatience, speed, aggressive driving, and distractions. Those are huge things. So I found these safety tips on the DOT website. So always obey traffic signals, don't cross against the light, always wave to oncoming traffic and make sure that they see you before. Just because you're waving doesn't mean that you have to like make eye contact with them, and make sure that they see you. Don't assume that they see you. Put down any distractions. So I tell the kids this every year when I go to the high schools. It drives me absolutely crazy when I see them looking down at their phone and they just walk right into the road, and they have absolutely no idea that there's cars slamming on their brakes around them. It makes me crazy. So put down all distractions. Wear high visibility colors, especially at night. Lighted gear. Something with pets, I will say. We respond to car versus dog collisions, which I absolutely hate going to because I'm a big dog lover. But if they have those like retractable leashes, those are really dangerous because by the time your brain tells your hand to hit stop, the dog has already gone far enough into the road. So I just recommend a non-retractable leash, something lighted, or you can get a lighted vest for the animal. And signal at all turns, especially like bicyclists, and vehicles, obviously proper signaling. And it's safer to assume that vehicles don't see you when you're in the roadway. So just assume that they don't see you and make yourself seen. That's it.
We have
If
time
there
for
are
some
questions?
questions.
I have a
With
question.
the lights on, and so people that have some questions, if you'd like to stand up, we'll get the mic to you, or if you have a lot, do you have the mic?
Hi.
Okay, Mary, do you have a question?
Are you covering where bicycles are allowed to ride? If you have a two-wheeled bicycle, can you ride on sidewalks?
As long as it's not in the center. So there's an ordinance against riding a bicycle on a sidewalk in the center. But
What about-
generally, as long as you're being respectful, I know I'm not gonna give someone a hard time, because I know what Farmington Ave and LaSalle looks like on any day really when it's nice out. So I understand that it can get very busy, but that's what the ordinance is.
What about the ordinance for a incumbent trike? Lower bike,
It's this.
Yeah,
two wheels,
it would be the same
and
as
an electric motor.
the bicycle.
Assisting motor.
Yeah,
Can
so-
you ride on sidewalks on that?
So for now, I would treat it the same as a bicycle. So there aren't any specific, e-bikes are very popular now. Like electric bikes, so assisted
Yeah.
bikes, those are getting very popular. As far as I know, we don't have any specific ordinances or state laws that separate electric bikes versus
Well, I meant more
bicycles.
the trike. has two back wheels.
Right.
That are wider, right?
It's 32 inches wide.
So you can ride, excuse me, you can ride on, where it's necessary, you can ride on the sidewalk.
I would say is if you're not in the center, yes. And even if you are in the center, as long as you're being respectful of people around you, then I don't think you'll run into any issue.
Okay.
I have a question, then I'm going to direct this toward you and toward Ed Paulette. I'm legally blind. I have lots of friends in the blind community. As far as I understand it, bicyclists legally are supposed to ride in the street, not ride their bikes on the sidewalks, correct?
So they can ride on the sidewalk as long as they're not in the center. There's a town ordinance against riding a bicycle in West Hartford Center.
You almost had another fatality then, because I have to tell you, two things. In general, walking the sidewalks, I can't tell a half a block away who's coming.
Sure.
And somebody who's totally blind, who's got a dog or a white cane, you're not going to know if a bicyclist is on that sidewalk. They're not going to look. If they're not looking, it doesn't matter whether you see or not, actually. If they're not looking for you, they're not going to stop or move. LaSalle Road, yeah, between broken pavement, posts, signposts, and lights, which I know is about to be changed with the revision of LaSalle Road. But I almost got clipped with somebody on a bicycle riding, doing a slalom through LaSalle Road. I didn't see between the sun and the posts, and forget it, I almost went down. That was not good. But that to me is another problem. I see people walking. I with their cell phones, pedestrian to pedestrian, you're right. But what I'd like to know is, I'm going to get back to the original question. How are bicyclists instructed, advised about bicycle safety regarding pedestrians, especially on a sidewalk?
That's a great question, and I ride a trike, and I always, in my soul, say pedestrian has the right of way. So if I see a pedestrian on the Trout Brook Trail or anywhere else, I stop and let them pass. So it's like driving a boat. A boat under sail has right of way. That's how I see it personally. So I think it's part of the culture.
I would do
It's a culture
because
of people
otherwise
working together.
it would
That's
be
what you said when
dangerous.
you started the meeting.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about pedestrians.
It would be very dangerous for the trike to be in vehicular traffic.
Yeah, no, I think we have to share the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's not done very well.
No, it's not.
Yeah, we're getting there. I think we're doing a great,
Baby
beautiful
steps.
job on Trout Brook is a crown jewel. And
Yeah.
the only thing I have a problem with is when I get to the end of the bike lane, it says, bike lane ends here. So I always plan my trip around town well in advance, and I choose the time of day. And I do go on the sidewalk for safety, but in Boston, I think, and up in Massachusetts, they paint a green line on the pavement, so there's a visual memory that maybe a bike will be there to the driver.
I think
That's a pretty cheap solution.
I think
to save my life.
Manchester,
Pardon?
I've seen. I think in Manchester, I've seen that green paint.
Yeah, I see it up
do that
in
in
West
Manchester?
Springfield, they just did a
Yeah.
renovation up there, when I go to see my daughters from Agawam into West Springfield over the Westfield River.
Gotcha.
And it's beautiful, and a bike could be seen on the trail, but then you have to share.
Right.
And just to say trail ends here, it just makes my heart sing. So I just either stop or find another way.
Thank you. I just want to move back. There's some questions
ahead.
back there as well.
Thank you.
I want to be
Take
loud,
care.
so it might sound like I'm shouting.
No offense taken.
I didn't see very much of this presentation that really spoke to older adults. The very end, actually, was the only one I saw that addressed the issues of older adults more closely. I'd like to bring up the fact that there are very few places to sit down along our sidewalks. Older adults tend to not be able to handle long distances walking. We might want to cross the road where there's no crosswalk because we can't walk the entire distance. Maybe we could use a little louder signals at the crosswalks that are legit. there's a lot of things you can do for seniors that are low-tech, that would be very safe. Let's take a look at the places around here where seniors live. Maybe you've got a high population group here that could be addressed with some other simpler issues, like a slightly longer crosswalk.
I'll pass that off to the engineering department, because that's
That's
their,
what I was thinking.
yeah,
a long
that's
time.
their.
Very disappointed in that presentation.
Could I make an interjection here? May 20th, we're having a forum to address those very issues. That's what an age-friendly community is all about.
Perfect.
So there are 8 initiatives. Come here, you know, we're gonna really be talking about how we're doing.
A lot of our issues are low tech.
Yep.
Remember that. We don't have to spend a fortune, and we're not going to be getting money from the feds in the future. Remember that, too.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. These are great presentations. I appreciate your time, all of you. Ed, you spoke a comment and then a question, please. Ed, you spoke to, it's not us versus them. I submit that it is. I'm a regular pedestrian on, I live 800 feet from the superhighway in town called Mountain Road. And I have benefited from the installation of the rapid flashing beacon installation at Glenwood and Mountain. Thank you for that. Thank you to the DPW, who has also been responsive with signage. It doesn't matter. The culture changed with COVID. You guys know it. And it's not coming back fast enough. And I don't want to pay what it will cost to have enough of you to enforce all of it. The culture has to change. And this Vision Zero is wonderful, but anybody that's going to sign that is part of the choir. And the statistic, very telling, that roughly 69% of the people involved in accidents in West Hartford don't live here.
That's right.
Am I right?
69.
And those are the same people, when I'm at the crosswalk with the flashing beacon, with my dog in broad daylight, holding my camera so they can see that I'm filming them, wave at me and laugh as they go by with 100, 200 feet. So 2 questions. What is a reasonable expectation when I'm about to cross the road and I press that button in terms of giving someone the amount of stop time they need? Okay? Is 200 feet enough? What should I expect, assuming a reasonable amount of speed?
So,
And a follow-up question. What do we do to change the culture? I mean, this is wonderful, but this is not affecting those people that are bombing on their way to Bloomfield and Avon and Simsbury and places else. Thank you.
so as far as you were talking about stopping distance for a car versus when you feel comfortable actually crossing a road.
What should I expect is reasonable for them to be able to stop?
So I don't have a specific number, but I can say specific to crash reconstruction, what we focus on and the math behind it, there's varied perception reaction time, and then in turn creates a different perception reaction distance. So my reaction time to knowing, hey, there's a red light, making the decision to actually stop at a red light if I'm going to make a right turn on a red, and then seeing someone who is crossing a road, potentially crossing the road, might be drastically different than my father's reaction time versus his father's reaction time. And I'm not saying that you're going to be able to tell who's driving the car and make a judgment based on that, because this is all split-second decisions that are going on. So I don't have a good answer for you other than when you know that car is stopped, that's when you should go.
Yeah.
That's like the only time that you're gonna know that this car is stopped. And then what my partner, Officer Hannigan, and I believe what the first presentation talked about is getting an actual feedback from that driver that they know you're there, whether it be a wave, a smile, like something.
What can the average citizen do to help you? I have my camera out. I've taken videos of these people. If I submit them, will they be pursued?
Generally, no. We have to see it. So while I'd love to take that further and put some accountability on people, obviously we can't be everywhere, and I know it's a big burden financially for the tax-paying citizens of this town to fund stuff like that. So we look for grants through the state, which is great, but again, it's not always going on. We talked about April being distracted driving month. Well, there's no May isn't something else month. It just every April is distracted driving month, and we try and apply for things. So I will say that the biggest thing is making sure that they stop and see you. If you want to call in a specific area, that's what we deal with, what we talked about. They're called selective enforcement areas. So it's a specific area. So if you live at a specific neighborhood and you always have problems crossing this one street every day at this specific time, call into the police department. So our boss is Sergeant Leith. We're in the traffic division specifically. So if one of us is working, we'll field your complaint. We'll focus on that area during that specific time and go from there. So if it's recognized as a problem area, like I can't even put my car in park before I see the next violation, then we'll keep going out there. And we have no problem pulling up someone over every 5 minutes and giving someone a ticket for it. It's our job. So that would be my answer for that.
So really quick, so if you do send a video to us and we see that somebody did something wrong and you have that license plate, we will reach out to that person.
Yes.
So they'll be put on notice. Whether enforcement action will be applied, that's different, but we will contact that person.
That's a change in culture, just knowing them being
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing is that our division does not drive marked vehicles. So we may be in the area, but you won't see us. We have a Durango. It's an all-black Durango, looks like a regular car. We have two dark gray Ford Explorers. And two light gray. So it doesn't, so you call it in, you may not see us because we don't have like the light bar on top. It doesn't say West Hartford, which is better for us because we can catch people acting how they would if they didn't see us there.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind. We may be in the area, but you just don't see us.
Sir, if I could, Ed Pollack, if I could just make 2 comments. Thank you very much for your input. First of all, I'm very familiar with Mountain Road. I drive Mountain a lot. I can tell you, when I'm on Mountain Road, the speed limit is enforced. And I know of at least one other driver, my wife, for which that is the case. That is, unless it's somebody who completely disregards and is going to pass me on the left lane, they're going to be doing close to 30 miles an hour as well on Mountain. It's the same thing on North Main Street with the road diet. So to your question of how do we change the culture, I submit that if there is a critical mass of drivers in town who are have signed the pledge and are following the rules of the road, that begins as a self-enforcement. That's number one. That's changing the culture. It doesn't have to be everybody, and it won't be everybody. It has to be a critical mass. But I can tell you, when I'm driving on the road diet on North Main Street, when I'm on Mountain, that speed limit is enforced. That's number one. Number two, there are 2 crosswalks on Mountain Road. There's the one by, I think you're referring to by Spice Bush Swamp. There's one north of Albany Avenue as well. The Ped and Bike Commission has recommended that those 2 crosswalks, along with about another 35 crosswalks in town that are on the major roads, such as those in Fern Street and others, that those be upgraded to raised crosswalks that Parker was speaking about previously. Traffic counts show that those raised crosswalks slow speeds. Drivers hit their brakes. We've advocated for that with the town. We've gotten a tepid response of how many the town would like to install. We're continuing to advocate for more as part of the Vision Zero initiative. I would advise you to get in touch with your town officials and say, hey, we want raised crosswalks across town, including in these locations. That's how action happens. Thank you.
My question is particularly geared to older adults, and that is, why is nobody talking to the car industry about how much is included on their infotainment screens? A year ago, I have always drive Subarus. A year ago, I was in search of a new car and did not buy a Subaru Outback because even changing the temperature in your car involves hitting up and down buttons on a large infotainment screen. When I talk to seniors who are thinking about new cars, they are afraid to buy a new car because of the way the information is displayed. So, a plug for a Honda. Their temperatures are controlled by 3 knobs. It's a little bit old school, and the rest of the stuff, navigation and phone answering or whatever, is on the infotainment screen. But it is a common topic among people 65, 75 years old who do a lot of driving about how they're afraid to buy a new car.
Yeah, so even myself, I'm a button person, so I do not like going through the touch screen to get to various things. As far as reaching out to the auto industry, personally, I haven't done that. I don't know how it would, but it's a part of our culture right now, and that's something that we are enforcing as part of distracted driving, because people may think of distracted driving as just like texting and looking down, but you can be distracted in plenty of other ways inside the car, whether it be you have an animal on your lap, like your dog, you have your iPad in the passenger seat and you're watching a movie, you have your phone in the gauge cluster.
Real life scenarios.
These are all things that I've recently
Or your
pulled people
iPad
over
in your
for.
hand, like
Yeah.
this, on the steering wheel.
So it's not just like.
There's some fault with pedestrians though too, and none of you mentioned earbuds.
Not being able to hear you.
So that's another thing too.
Just back to the infotainment, I think certainly there's space in our action plan identified, like there's town of West Hartford officials going out to the auto industry, probably not going to happen, but as advocates within the state and as we relate to what we can have a position on, I think certainly. Just a second item, we did meet with, I mentioned the IIHS, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Really great people. They're the ones that are really actively kind of bridging the gap between the insurance industry and the auto manufacturers. They brought up this point, which is that consumers want buttons. Safety officials want buttons, but the only people that don't want buttons are the manufacturers. So I don't know how we bridge this gap, but obviously it probably brings down the overall price tag, I'm guessing. But.
Well, thank you all we've exceeded our time. I think we could be here all day with all this excellent information. We have one more quick question.
I'm a longtime cyclist, and I've witnessed cyclists, kids bicycling down Park Road with us while talking to cell phone. I'm sure you guys have seen it too. Rules, but bicyclists in dark clothing riding at night with no lights. I'm sure you guys can. I know you guys over cyclists, and I'd certainly like to encourage. I don't, because you don't need a license while you bicycle, so it's kind of hard to cite somebody. But I'd certainly like to encourage. I think there's a bit of a war between cyclists and drivers, and one of the things you can do is help encourage better behavior among cyclists, because some of it is deserved. And when you see a cyclist doing something really stupid, like bicycling while talking on his cell phone, bicycling at night with no lights, pull them over and just have a chat with them. It might be hard to cite them, but it's not impossible. So, as a cyclist, I'd like to encourage some pressure to improve the behavior of cyclists towards the public in general.
So there are various town ordinances that one of them is having reflectors on the front and back of your bike, and then there are some statutes that we can talk to people about. My prime example is like going through a red light, and then a bicyclist sitting on the road, and then acting as a vehicle essentially, and then just going through the red light when no one else is coming. So those are things that I have stopped people for. So I do agree with you. and I will say that it hasn't been done before, maybe not as much as it should, but we are talking to them.
Well, we want to thank everyone, especially our panel, our Hartford Police Officers Hannigan and Jack Sanford and Parker Sorensen and Ed Pollock for this more excellent information. There's so much information out there, and we do our best to be part of getting our roads safe in West Hartford. Thank you for coming, and please, if you can take the pledge either online now or
Lights and flashing and clothing.
you'll get your magnet. But thank you all.